bloody students.
You've probably seen people on TV doing this, haven't you, in London? It always looks good fun, but it's never quite as good fun when you've got your face in the back. And I'll lay you a £10 bet that the person I find the details of is a student. If every student in Canterbury who's living in recycled properly, our figures would go up by about 5%. We'd probably be the lead council in the country.
I'm going to have to caution you, you don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you don't mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand the caution?
Yes.
I'm speaking to you about an offence on the Environmental Protection Act 1990. You've placed out on the road for collection 3 recycling bags full of contaminated waste, glass and food, which is an offence on the Environmental Protection Act. And to issue this on the spot £50 fine, which you have 14 days to pay, and should you fail to pay it, it will go to court.
But just to me, because...
Well, the evidence I found in the bags belongs to you, but it is to the whole property. Okay? So you can tell your friends who live here with you, it's not just you, it's just unfortunate the evidence I found here has got your name on it. If I'd have found 5 names, all 5 people living here would have got, I don't know how many lives here, 5, 6, whatever. If I'd have found more evidence, everybody would have got one.
You can only deal with so much. You can only go to so many properties, and before you have to start. I mean, I know I've been to these 2 before for the same reason, rubbish in the alley, and you can only keep going back so many times before you say enough is enough.
RAG stands for Raise and Give, because we are the charity society of the university. It was a conference called about sustaining Canterbury, and some of the people that were speaking at the conference from the council and from other parts of Canterbury basically are worried about the impact of how many students are in Canterbury, and they have a negative feeling towards us as students.
80% of all the rubbish problems I go to are student related.
What we pointed out to them was the conference is being held in the university. Canterbury is 75% students. We give so much to the economy. They were trying to do things like get us to pay council tax and stuff like that. We have to pay that much as it is, and you know we get the basic student loan, and the southeast area waiting, you know, the amount of money we get is quite disproportionate to how much it actually costs to live in this area of Britain.
Ratepayers of Canterbury pay each time that we get called up to the university. So as ratepayers, being a local person myself, it comes out of my rates.
I'd like to think we give as much back as we can. I think it's very important in university to have a charity society, because you know we are lucky enough to come to university, and we're lucky enough to be given the opportunity to further education, and I think it's nice to be able to do something more while we're here and to give something back. We are predominantly focused on student-based charities, so things that are important to students, things like meningitis. We also focus on national charities, and we also like to focus on local community charities as well. Apparently we're just girls in short skirts who go around with tins, which is so not true. But I think from the feedback that I've got, people generally come up to me and go, oh, RAG's great, you guys do a really good job, we think it's a really good thing for university to have. And we always get people coming up and saying, oh, I'd love to do stuff like that. So I think people look quite fondly on what we do, and they appreciate what we do and think it's a really good thing.
They're pretty well behaved as general, but from my point of view, being a firefighter, they are, you know, a bit. They could do with a bit of education.
Students here are actually quite good. We're not that rowdy. We're not, you know, there's nothing too bad that goes on. I mean, obviously, you get people drunk in the works on a Monday night. You get people drunk at the venue, stumbling down the high street, but nothing ever that bad. Nothing. We don't disturb people. 99%
of calls that we have to the college are false alarms. A lot of them could be prevented.
The majority of those calls, almost 90% of those calls take place between the hours of midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning. And the vast majority of that period is actually from 2 o'clock till 3 o'clock. And we can sort of see that's club kicking out time. Obviously alcohol is involved there.
Some clown had actually put a Nike trainer into a microwave and put it on full power for 30 minutes, and that's where the smoke was emanating from. But the consequences of that trainer being in there could have been catastrophic. The the worst time, Friday, Saturday night. I would say invariably it's where drink has been involved and people have come back from the venue or wherever and want something to eat, and they then do a bit of cooking, and because of the way they're cooking, leaving the kitchen door open, setting off the smoke detectors in the hallways of their halls, and we have to go up and investigate.
We've been up quite a few many times for people actually drying their hair underneath a smoke detector, or loads of hairspray underneath a smoke detector.
Because every incident we go to, we don't actually know whether it's a fire or whether it is a fire alarm. So we have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. We have to stay there until the conclusion of that incident. So if something else does kick off in Canterbury at the same time, then an appliance has got to come from an outlying area to cover our fire ground. So if someone has got a domestic property fire, which is a real scenario, and especially of a night time, you could have people asleep in their beds, they've got a fire, and where are we? We're up at the university chasing around looking for a fire alarm that's gone off.
Breaking call points, I think we need to sort of try and get this sort of mentality, this sort of stupidity factor in, that these people aren't funny. Not only is it, wasting our resources, it is antisocial behaviour, and to let people know that we will be prosecuting.
So I'm like, go boo! Basically, it's a children's theatre company, and we've been going for about 3 or 4 years, and we go into schools and local youth groups and do theatre workshops with the children. Normally in the schools we perform a play first, and then have shorter stories that we get the children to improvise to get a chance doing drama, because a lot of schools don't have anyone who can do drama in the school because they don't have to have it anymore.
There's a lot of different ways that charities can get funding, but I do think they really appreciate our help. We do often get local charities calling us up, emailing us and saying we really need your help. Last year we raised £20,000 across the entire year. This year we've raised just under £14,000 in a term and less than half. For the snowball this year we raised money for East Kent Rape Line, who we've been raising money for quite a few years. Not last year's snowball, but the snowball before that. We basically raised enough money to pay their entire rent for the year. The government cut all their funding and they were going to be closed down.
It tends to be that students have quite diverse interests and ideas, and the university and like the Students' Union tends to give you a vehicle to put those ideas forward and bring them into the greater community, where some people may have them, but if they're 9-to-5 jobs, they can't really do anything about it.
I would hate to put my finger on it and point a finger at students, because I think sort of antisocial behaviour is not really solely a student issue.
If you didn't have these 2 universities we have here, then you think a lot of the businesses wouldn't survive.
You can't stop people living where they want to live, and you can't isolate students and you can't isolate residents. You've just got to find that happy medium of people getting on. I think the students have to give and take a little bit, and so do the residents.